Hi folks, this is Meredith from the Papery Craftery, and today we're going to be making some flax flowers. To start off with, we need a bluish, grayish, purplish sort of quilling paper. You have some options here. I'm going to be using a color called Orchid, but if you needed to, you can go a light blue or even a cadet blue would work as well. We are going to need a little bit of a deep yellow. We're going to need a very tiny bit of white. And then we're also going to be making some stems and flowers, so I have some sage green here as well. All of these papers I'm using today are 1/8 inch wide, and they're all from Quilled Creations. You're going to need something to work on, so I have my corkboard here covered with parchment paper and some straight pins. For glue, I'm just using Elmer's glue all in my needle nose container, but tacky glue will work as well. Any quilling tool you like. I have my needle tool today, some tweezers, some small scissors, and grab a ruler as well because we're going to be measuring a bit. For our photo inspiration here, I have some pictures to share. As you can see, flax flowers have long stems and then little purplish blue flowers on the top. They also have yellow centers, and then if you look closely, very small white stamen. This last picture is going to be our inspiration here. I like the sideways view, so we're going to be doing that instead of a straight on flower. We're going to start with the stem. I'm going to take one strip of this sage green paper. This is an 18-inch long strip. I make a lot of double thick strips on my channel. We're going to take that one step further today and actually make a quadruple thick strip. Same process you've seen me do a million times. I'm going to fold it in half. Starting at the halfway point, I'm going to do a line of glue all the way down, making sure I'm not missing any spots because I don't want any air bubbles or any gaps in my paper. Put that all the way to the end. And then I can fold up my paper right at the center line that I already made. Run it through my fingers to make sure that it is completely saturated with that glue. And then after that dries for a little bit, I'm actually going to do the same exact thing, folding it in half again and applying glue halfway down the strip of paper so that it ends up being folded twice and it ends up being about 4 strips thick. I'm not going to show that process because I think you'll get the picture. So we're going to move on to the piece of the stem that connects the stem to the flower. For that, I used 5 inches of that same sage green paper, and I'm going to roll it up from start to finish. And I'm going to make a shape that I don't make too often. We're going to be making something called the Lily of the Valley. So after I take it off of my tool, I'm going to let it open up a little bit in my hands, add a little bit of glue to the end, and then I'm going to give it a tiny pinch right where that seam is. Let's press that down to make sure it's real secure. Then just a little pinch on that side. It's not going to be as much as it would for a teardrop, just a little pinch. And I'm going to flip it over to the other side and give it another little pinch towards the top, trying to make them even. And that's about it. That's your Lily of the Valley shape. We're also going to be making some leaves, so I'm going to use a 6-inch strip for that. I'm going to roll that up all the way on my tool, all the way to the end. And once that's off the tool, let it open up just like before and add a little bit of glue to the end. While we're working on that, I just want to remind everyone that if you need a little bit of extra help remembering those odd quilling shapes you don't use too often, I do have some sheets about that on my Buy Me a Coffee page. That'll be linked in the description box for this video, and you can find those there. At this point, we have our glue on our little leaf bit, and we're going to be making a marquee, but it's really going to be smushed. So we're going to smush that right down in the center. and then make our points on either side. So we're just looking for some kind of skinny, long leaves. And for each stem, I would recommend between 2 and 4, depending on how long your stems are going to be. You can always add more. But for mine, 2 to 4 seem to work the best. As far as flower petals go, each of my flower petals were made in different ways. I'm going to have 3 different versions here. The first is going to be a strip that is about 6 inches long. I'm going to roll that all the way up. Let it open up a bit. Add some glue to the end and pinch. You can pinch first, you can add glue first. I tend to go back and forth depending on my mood. We're making a teardrop here, but we're making some curved teardrops. Sorry, my pinch got a little out of hand there, and I had a little bit of extra long piece on the end, so to snip that off if that ever happens to you. So we have our teardrop here, and we're going to make it curved, so you can either bend it around your fingers or bend it over the handle of a tool. But we're looking for a shape like that. Remember, we're looking at our flax from the side. So that is one of the petals that's going to come off the side. And then we're going to take 2 of those teardrops, same size strip, about 6 inches on both. We're going to make a tiny little peak on the side just to make it sort of flat on one end. Add a little bit of glue and put those 2 together. Those are going to be our back petals that we can see. So the first one was sort of a profile petal. These are going to be the ones we can see straight in the back of the flower. But we want these to be a little bit curved as well. So after you get your 2 teardrops together on their flat side that we made, let that set for a moment and then curve those as well. So that's going to go like that. And then you need to do the same thing for the other side. We have those petals right there. Then we need to have the petal that's coming straight at us from the front, which isn't going to be a full petal shape. We're going to do something slightly different. This is also going to be 6 inches long. We're going to roll it up all in the same way. Let it open up a little bit. We're going to add our glue, just like always, to get that set. And then this time we're going to be making what is known as a half moon, another shape we don't do too often. So that's just a matter of 2 pinches on either side, but then pushing down into the center. It's not flat on the top, it's got a nice curve to it. It's pinched a little bit more than that lily of the valley that we did in the beginning. You can see it's not as deep. It's kind of smushed more in the center. So these are all of the pieces we've made so far. We have our quadruple thick strip stem, and I'm going to put some pins on either side of that to keep it steady on my workboard here. We're just using this board to keep everything still while we glue it all together. It's not going to stay on this page or on this parchment paper here. This is just to keep everything together. We have our green lily of the valley piece that is going to connect our flower to our stem. So a little bit of glue on there. Try to keep that centered. Pins are going to be your friend if you want to keep everything from moving. There's that. And now we're going to start putting some of our flower petals in that piece. We're going to start off with the teardrop piece. Just add a little bit of glue to the bottom there. Oopsie. If you want to grab your tweezers at this point, you can do that. We have one piece coming off one side. This is why we made them curved, because they are going to be sort of coming out and to the side. There's the double petal that we made going in that direction. And then here's the one going in the other way. These are going to move around a little bit. That's okay. You'll have some time to readjust before your glue sets. Like I said earlier, if you want to use tacky glue for this, it will definitely set up faster, and that will be okay. All right, so we sort of have this so far. And we're going to let that set for a little bit before we add our last petal. While that's drying though, we're going to go ahead and start making the stamen and the center of our flower. I'm using the dark yellow for the center, but it's a little bit too wide. If you have a 2mm or a 1/16 inch strip, you can use that. We're using so little of it though, I wanted to show that you can also cut your strips in half lengthwise to make them skinny. If you just need a little bit, you don't need to buy all that extra paper. So we're rolling this piece, it's about 2 inches long, all the way down the end. Let it open up a tiny bit. And add a little bit of glue to keep that together. This time we're making more of a half circle shape than a half moon. So it's going to be smushed flat with 2 peaks on either side, but it's not going to be bowed up in the middle like the half moon. So super teeny pieces we're working with here. And then we're going to make our stamen. So I have white that I also cut in half lengthwise to make a very skinny strip. And I'm tearing off pieces that they're not quite an inch long, maybe a little bit less. I'm going to roll it up on my tool about halfway so it looks like the backward letter P, and then smush it. Add a little bit of glue right underneath the piece we smushed to keep that together. And that's going to be what's going to represent our little tiny stamen in our flowers. And for each flower, I would make either 2 or 3 of these. Make them different sizes, so they're not all exactly the same. And there you can see I have 3 of those together. I have my little yellow half circle, and then I have that half moon that we made with my blue paper. I'm going to put all this together now, sort of a different way than we normally do. It's going to be sort of 3-dimensional. I'm going to apply a little bit of glue to the back of my half moon and just place it right where the lily of the valley piece meets the rest of the petals. So it's going to sort of give the idea that that petal is coming forward. And you can always go back to that last reference photo that I shared at the beginning. It's almost exactly what we're doing here with this flower. On top of that piece, we're going to add our little yellow center. Just give the idea that we can see that when we're looking straight forward from the side of the flower. And then for the last little detail for this part, we're going to add in those stamen. I like to kind of give them a little curve. And if you feel like they're a little bit too long, you can always give these a trim as well. And that one might be a teensy bit too long. Take off a tiny bit there. And then I think I'm just going to dip these in glue because these are getting really hard to handle because they're so tiny. There we go. So a little bit of glue there, and I like to have them coming from the flower center kind of to the side. So I'll have 2 going one way, and then I'm going to flip this last one to be facing the other direction. Ooh. There we go. So one last little dip here, and have that going the other way. And they'll sit on the petals that are underneath them for the most part. It's okay if your back 2 petals aren't meeting in the center. You can see there's a little gap between mine. That's okay. But this is about what your flower should look like at this point. And then all we have left to do is add our leaves. I'm going to move these pins a little bit out of the way here. And we're going to keep dipping in our glue and just sort of shingle these on either side of our stem. flax flowers do have a lot of little seeds growing off them as well. I chose to kind of simplify by leaving those off, and we're just doing the leaves for today. Again, dropping, dropping, dropping. And then one more on this side. And then I'll add a fourth one since it's already made here. There we go. So there is our finished flax flower. I'm gonna let that all dry. And then we can take it off of our workboard. It's a very fast project. This comes together super duper quick, even though it has a lot of pieces to it. Get that off my board there. And there you have it. You can trim up your stem if you need to. I decided to make a little bouquet here of 5 flowers and then sort of a burlap inspired little wrapping there by using some 2mm light brown paper. And I have a video on how to make that sort of bow, and I can link that in the description box for this video as well. And then I just put it on a piece of mat board for just a cute little home decor item. I hope you like this different perspective on making a flower. You don't have to stick with the flax for this idea. You can use it to make daisies or any sort of multiple petaled flower that you could see from the side, not just from the top. I will, of course, link to all the tools, supplies, and other videos you might need for this project. I'll have that all in the description box for this video. There will also be a link to my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can find some quilling extras and ways to support the channel so we can keep it growing. That's always greatly appreciated. Don't forget to leave your questions in the comment section and I'll answer those as soon as I can. And of course, like and subscribe so you can be around for the next video. And I'll see you then. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.